suggested from a teacher who is looking to explore renewable energy and particularly hydropower. Asked me specifically, do you have anything on hydropower? Only yesterday, and so I decided to bring this one forward. This was meant to be happening like in a week from now, but I've decided to bring this one forward. So let's do it. Let's explore what I'm talking about. So hydropower. These are the sorts of things that I love teaching, these big concepts with Minecraft, and Minecraft Education Edition specifically. The kind of things that you would struggle to teach, science, like the big complex sciences that you would struggle to teach through maybe paper means, or you know, we'd wheel out the old CRT television and the VHS when I was a kid, and we'd get a video on and kind of watch it and still not necessarily with our little minds grasp the concepts or the depths of what we were trying to talk about. And one of those is hydropower. I remember doing this years ago. We've done this with Lego and all sorts. And I remember years ago being asked to do this and just realising how little the kids had grasped already in this unit of work that they'd been doing. For example, when I said to them, how does a dam work? They said, oh, the water fills up until it comes over the top. And when it comes over the top, it means that we've got enough water to run like a generator. And I was astounded by that, because that's not at all how dams work. But kids had this idea. I dare say I even maybe thought that when I was younger. And of course, how do you teach things like water pressure and having enough water to then turn a turbine to generate enough electricity and so on? And there's a number of ways Minecraft can do that. It can do that through just modeling the environment and allowing children to explore the environment. It can do that through the mechanics and allowing children to make working parts that somewhat model what it is that you're doing. And it can also do it through a narrative of telling the story of this historical area that was turned into a dam, for example. And then the fourth way it can do it, of course, is through code. And code's really a great way of doing it. So let me show you what I've been doing with hydropower. We've got lots and lots of renewable stuff coming up, but because of the request, we're going to do hydro today. And I think actually Miss Taylor's with us on Twitter. Hi, Miss Taylor. This one's for you. And so what I'd like to show you is our hydro, let me just clear my inventory. Hydropower. You think I get that right first time? There we are. Is our Hydropower Toybox. I've already explained on some of my streams that we have this entire Toybox series, and this one is no different. It's a restricted environment. It's contained within this little box, almost as if you've opened up this little box and out has come this little working model. And I always talk about if you could do that in your class, almost like if you're a Game of Thrones fan and you watch the beginning of Game of Thrones with the title credits, and the town kind of, it was like the map, it went over the map and the little towns came alive. I'd love that in a classroom. I mean, that'd be amazing if you could just put real models of the world down onto the kids' desks and be like, check this out. This is World War One. Watch it in action. And of course we can't do that, but what we can do is create it in video games that allow us to animate sprites and create narrative and make environments and so on. And so inside this little toy box, we've got the usual decorative stuff, the art stuff to make it look as if it was made. Here's a paint brush in a bottle of water. Over there we have a model of exactly how they work. And so this is where I explain to the kids how a hydro dam works. And have a think about this actually, is creating in Minecraft a side view of something. You can create that slice if you like. And so here's the reservoir over this side. And then we explain to the kids that you have the dam, which is the big piece of sort of concrete or whatever it is that we've created in order for us to hold the water back. But the actual water level is down here, and we can do this by meters even. We can say if each block is 1 meter or 10 meters, if each block is 10 meters, then from the original we have 1, 2, 3, 4, so there's 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 and so on, and we go up. So we've got 130 meters, 140 meters maybe to the top of the water. We can do the proper maths later. This is the idea. And then what happens is the water is then passed through this filter system. It's pushed down into a where it's pulled up into a turbine, and then the electricity, because the turbine moves in here so fast because of the pressure of the water, the electricity gets fed out to the power grid. Meanwhile, the rest of the water gets sent all the way back down and into the river systems. And so we can create this really nice illustration, if you like, and this is what we wanted them to model it on. I gave them this picture and said, let's do it. And so this is what we ended up with. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the environment that we need. The kids started with, and I'll show you actually before we come back to this working model, this is an actual working model with redstone, complete with redstone and all sorts. But if we go to the original, I'll show you what the kids, recognized very quickly that they had to do. They recognized, if I just head out of the cinema here, there's supposed to be a door there. There we are. They recognized very quickly that on this, you'll see this is just a flat world, generally roughly the same area, etc. And I said to them, let's make a hydro dam. We've got a city, we need to power it with a hydro dam. And so what they realized they had to do very quickly was create a height difference. So automatically they're thinking about topography. There's a geography lesson there, and they're thinking, hang on a minute, topography. I know what I need. I need an area. Hey, Raja. Hi from Pakistan. Hope all is well out there. And so they realized that topographically they had to create a higher level. And so they did. They went around creating, like manually, and you can see if I dip into the water, how rough this is. It's really just proper rough. All the way down, here's the sort of the cliff side, and then when we get up to the other side, it's the same on the other side. So they created this mountain, and they realized that this water, this hydropower and reservoirs generally come from mountainous water. So they created their waterfall, then the river, and then the reservoir, which was to be blocked off at the end. Now this is not necessarily true to life, because of course it's not flat until you hit a mountain, but it certainly does look more like this terrain here. But they needed just to show the topography of, well, we need a higher piece of land where the water would not necessarily ordinarily have been, but we can make it there. And so by making the dam, and they haven't made the dam at quite the angle that it shows in the in the picture, in the illustration, but they have made this flat dam. They basically just built a giant wall, and then they have the water level down here. And again, if we look at this water level, I'm going to climb now all the way up here until we reach what would be their water level. So they've already done this. They've already created this water level, and then they realised that, quite aside from the mechanisms of, from the environment, they needed the mechanisms. So they were going to need some sort of power station, and so they designed a power station. We actually visited this. This was part of a class in which we visited a hydro dam later to kind of show them how accurately they'd done, and as a bit of a kind of a continuation of the research, and a well done as well. They loved it, and when they came back they added things that they'd seen. But really what they've done is they've showed the dam structure, the topography, and basically the environment. This is what you're going to need in order for a dam to work out. Hey, Malaysia's in. Go Kok Ming, how are you? I hope all is well and all of your loved ones are safe and healthy in Malaysia. I've been out to Malaysia. I love it. It's one of the most amazing places on earth. And so, and this is interesting actually, speaking of different parts of the world like Pakistan and Malaysia, if you're running this in the UK, particularly in Scotland, hey, we have hydroelectric dams that actually generate power. But what if you don't? I know in the Pacific Northwest of America they have hydro dams, but they're not going to have hydro dams in Nevada. Correct me if I'm wrong. But and so this is a really interesting concept for both children who have access to this power and maybe live according to this at the expense or the benefit of this power, and actually people who don't. And it's like, wow, what water literally controls the energy systems that you have. So there's lots of ways of looking at this, but let's have a look at let's go back to the original. So now that we've got the topography, and when I say the topography and the structures, what I'm talking about here is, even if you consider the depths. Now the depths of the dam, the width of the dam, if you like, were considered as well. The kids were like, how thick does it have to be? And this is really important because we can add just again, hypothetically, but to give the kids an idea of working with mathematics, we could say that one block can contain, let's work this out, can contain up to 100 blocks of water. And so we can start to work with maths. We can start to say that a 10 by 10 block of water contains X gallons, for example, or litres of water. And that litre of water has a pressure of X or Y, and that pressure can be contained by one block, or strengthened to the power of 3, or 6, or 9, and so on. And actually, even then, it maybe becomes weaker the bigger the wall becomes because of the face. And so what if we said that was the thickness of our wall? And then suddenly it's a thicker wall and it can take more pressure. And so we can start to build a lot of maths around this. We did this with spreadsheets and we got the kids to work out. It was all hypothetical and it was based on stuff we'd found on the internet, but it was based on the pressure of water behind a given wall and how much it would take for, and you can find that out from dams, and the Hoover Dam was designed in such a way, and the Pitlochry Dam was designed in such a way. Renchi says they do have a huge dam in Nevada. Look at that. Consider me corrected. I picked Nevada because I thought it was flat desert. Look at that. Somebody needs to take me to Nevada and teach me the geography of that space. And so the thickness of the dam and the mathematics are another really nice way of looking at that. And the kids worked out that this water pressure would be held back by, let's see how many they've decided. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 meters, which would also allow for people to stand on it. 9 meters of solid concrete. So check that out. What we got, Barry's in with us from Wales. Good morning, Barry. The workaround builds, including visits and discussions, so important. Absolutely. I talk about this in one of the other things that we're going to be doing, which is the Victorians. And we've taken kids to Victorian, in order to teach them the concepts of history, we've taken them to Victorian buildings and particularly Victorian ruins. I actually find this more effective. You can take them to Holyrood Castle and say, hey, during the such and such century, Queen Victoria stayed in this room, and it's all, you're not allowed to touch and you're not allowed to imagine. The most you could do is sort of be like, all right, okay, so somebody sat in that chair. And maybe it's just the way I approach history, but if you take them to a ruin and say to them, what was here? Imagine we were the servants in the servants' quarters in this house, or remember that time when we got to stay in this room because, and the kids are like, yeah, and it's all make-believe for them, and then they can make it happen in their minds. Then they're more inclined to want to learn about what would you have been wearing at that time? What would you have been doing at that time? What if I told you were the gardener and gamekeeper of this estate, this Victorian estate? And then the kids are like, oh, and they go away and they become the gamekeepers in this little imaginary space that they have. And I just think that's really, really important. So taking them to the dam was important. For them to be able to see this stuff and stand on the edge. I mean, as students, we were able to stand on the edge and look down on real dams and be like, oh, we built something like this. And then look at this side and be able to see how they had these nets. I haven't done it in this model, but they had these nets when we went, and it was to catch all the debris. It was to catch like some of the foam stuff, leaves, branches. There was a dead bat. We actually saw a dead bat floating in the water. The kids were like, why is there a bat in the water? And so on. And then inside there you could see the fish, which then raised another question, which we'll come back to later. But in the meantime, I just wanted to show you this version because this whole city is actually powered by this dam, and I'm going to show you how a model of that in the Toybox series. So let me come back to this. Toybox World, there we are. And so I'll give you a little tour because you can see this one's more formed. It's got this here and it's got some stuff inside, and it's just a little more formed. So let me give you a tour. So over here is our control station. And this is what controls the dam. Let me just double check what's going on here. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a bucket. We've got two ways of controlling this dam. And I'm just going to test something. No, I didn't think that worked. We're going to have to, we've got two ways of controlling the dam. And the first way, I'm just going to actually do manually. I'm just double checking which one. I think it's actually, yeah, it is that one. So if I pull that, why is that not working? Ah, there we are. Okay. I'm just going to check something. Give me a second. Yeah, there we are. Okay, so this is our control system. And then, so that's our control tower, and there's two ways I'm going to show you how to control that. The first is through basic redstone, and the second is through a mechanism using rain to detect water and therefore water pressure and a raise in water pressure. Then we've got the bridge structure itself, we've got the dam structure, and you can see I've actually switched the water off. And the reason for that is because that's part of the mechanisms of the dam. But what I want to show you is that if these sections here, these show the overspill. Now think about this. We want to be able to teach children about how dams work. In order for dams to work effectively, we need water and water pressure. We need to be able to build up the water. And I usually use like a polystyrene cup in class to show this. So we get a little polystyrene cup and we put a trickle of water in it, and then we puncture a little hole in the bottom and nothing happens. It doesn't really come out, just a little pencil hole, tiny one. And you may get a drip, maybe the occasional drip, but the kids are generally like, that didn't work. But we take another cup and we fill it to the brim with water and we poke a little hole in it and it drips a lot faster, if not spills out. And the kids are like, why is that? And I say, well, it's because of the pressure. The pressure of the water. Water weighs, it has a weight, and so it pushes the water out through the bottom. Kind of like if you fill up the bath, and because it's an analogy all kids can relate to. You fill up the bath, and when you pull the plug, you hear and it all gets pushed down, and you hear it swirling, and down it goes. And that's because the weight of the bath water is pushing it down into that little hole. And so the kids get that, and they get that with the polystyrene or the plastic cup model, and we use that to kind of describe it. In fact, some kids, they fill it up to the brim, and then they kind of make quite a hole in it, and it bursts, and they're like, oh, and I say, see, too much pressure on a weak surface on the bottom of the cup, and it bursts out, and so on. You can use other models as well. I just happen to think the polystyrene cup works particularly well. Polystyrene is not great for the environment though, so have a think about that. And then there's the structure itself, and as you can see, these are switched off, which means even though the water is at that level, because Minecraft water is really difficult to work with. I showed a flooding model a while ago, and it's actually quite difficult to work with. But really, what we're trying to show is that we don't have enough water. This is the overspill. And that's where the kids got mixed up and thought when they see water going over the top, it must be because that's what's generating the electricity. And they're not wrong. It's at that point when we have overspill that we can release some of the pressure, and we can see water coming out of these gates. But really what that means is if we have overspill, logically we have high water. And if we have high water levels, we have high water pressure. And if we have high water pressure, we can turn turbines. And so we're really getting the kids to think about the science that's going on underneath. Because we can't build a turbine. I mean, we could, but it would be really complex in Minecraft. So I just want to teach principles, which is, of course, what we're all trying to teach. And then we've got over here the power station itself. And if we go into the power station, you'll see that I have created a giant power generator. And there's some redstone going in there, which I'm going to show you later what that does. But in the meantime, let me just get rid of this. I don't know why that's there. There we go. There is a generator in there. Doesn't do anything other than the redstone, but I'll show you what the redstone does in a second. And then when we head downstairs, we have a pool through which we may or may not see salmon. And this is a visitor centre. This is what the kids added afterwards, because as the salmon are making their way up the rivers in some of these countries, they can see what that looks like, and they can count the fish. We have fish counters here, but we'll come back to that in a second, because what they then added was, down here, they added a fish ladder. And this came from, we're going to go down there and talk to Lionel, but that's going to, and there's a salmon, look, there's a salmon in the water. Hey little guys. baby salmon too. And there's a tropical fish, interestingly. I have no idea why. Obviously the wrong biome in there, but that's okay. And then in the background it's just decoration. We've just got some bottles of water, and we've got some symbols. Water equals electricity. We've got some photographs of what it might actually look like. And there's the method. You can see the leather straps have been pulled from this one because it's actually being poured in. This is just aesthetics. This is just to make it look as if the lid's been taken off, the bottle's been poured, and in it goes. And then what we can do is we can start to look at how this actually functions. So we've done environment. We know it's a raised platform. We know it's higher than the original water level and so on. Now we can look at mechanics. If I head over here to Jeff, we can see that, let's just imagine we're in student mode. This is actually, these NPCs are technically more for teachers. But yeah, it was modelled on a dam in Scotland built in the 1950s, and students explore why large-scale expansions of power stations occurred at this time. So we're looking at the history of renewable energies, because a lot of people think it's just about the renewable energy and the science, but actually, where did we make that turn? How did we get from the idea that we could just burn coal to suddenly actually we could use water, and so on. There's a fantastic history actually of Scotland's hydro engineers, and they were called the Tunnel Tigers, and they were just men who dedicated their lives to just making these huge tunnels that went from mountain to mountain and connected all of these amazing reservoirs. There's maps of them now in Scotland that you can connect them, and that workforce was actually sent to the United States. The Tunnel Tigers they were exported as engineering professionals, and they were sent to places like the United States and Europe to do the same. I say that as a matter of pride, and I'm sure each country had their own way of doing things and their own sort of people that would do it, but very proudly the Scots Tunnel Tigers were sent to different countries to help them with their switch to hydroelectric. And then you'll see there at the bottom that it says how has this energy mix changed over time, as well as the social, economic and political reasons for this. So there's lots for the kids to dip into. If we head over to see Catherine here, she says, sources of energy. What do we mean by finite energy? What makes electricity produced here more sustainable than the stuff that's coming out the ground, for example, in coal form? Students explore the concepts of hydropower within the context of sustainable energy and climate change, and critically evaluate what a sustainable energy source really means. Because you know what? We band this stuff around all the time. We're constantly talking to kids about sustainability and environment and climate change. But really, what does it mean? Let's get our kids into those difficult subjects, not just on a curriculum for sake of the exam level, but let's genuinely talk to them about why this stuff matters and how it matters to them. I'm just going to, fix this hole. There we are. There's a hole in my dam, which is the last thing I need. And then we'll go and speak to Stephen there. Okay, and then it gives you another idea. So we're looking at themes of climate change, sustainable energy, electricity generation, ecology, ecosystem management, the human aspects of land use conflict and growing societal demand for energy. Sounds kind of top brow. As a teacher, you would break that down into what you knew you wanted the kids to learn. Stephanie talks about it here. Engineering a megastructure. What does it take to create a dam? How do we build on this scale? How do we decide what land is sacrificed? And this is key. One of the dams that's up near my home in Scotland, it's like a 20-minute drive from here. When the water level goes down to a certain point, you can see a church steeple. The church steeple appears because the valley was flooded. The land was taken. The people were moved. They built the dam and then they flooded the land once they knew they could. And divers go down and see it sometimes. There's a whole village down there. There's a church and there's houses and there's shops, I assume, down there. And it's remarkable to think that that's under there. And it's quite creepy. Sometimes I go for a walk there and I can see the church steeple, which I just think is amazing. So land has to be sacrificed for this. How do we safely hold back thousands of gallons of water, and in some dams, trillions of gallons? I mean, the Hoover Dam, for example, is just incredible. The 3 dams that are currently being built on the Yangtze River in China, and they reckon there's all sorts of problems about them killing dolphin populations just to make these dams effective. Or what about the dams in Iraq that were built in the 80s, which were specifically designed to divert water away from certain areas during political strife, and still causes problems to this day. So there's huge issues around this to be looked at. Students investigate the science and engineering behind the creation of a dam, as well as considering the human impacts of, the heritage, the culture and heritage and the resettlement that comes with that. So that was the heritage piece. And so we've popped these little NPCs in as hints for teachers, but actually the teachers can then sort of form that out into much more stuff. But let's look at the mechanics now. How do we make the dam work? So down here at the very edge, what does this wee guy say? What does Lionel say? Hey Lionel. The riverine environment provides a diverse habitat for many plant and animal species. Students explore how the construction of a dam permanently alters that habitat and the ways in which this impacts the river ecosystem. Can they collaborate to create solutions to minimise the disruptions to plants, animals in the vicinity? So we sometimes, with this exercise, we get the kids to explore, well, what happens to the trees that were once there? What happens to the animals? What about the bird population, the fish population? Where did the deer used to eat and now they don't, for example? So there's a nice exercise there about looking at the animals. But down here, we have a power system. And that little light, when that's on, that means we have power. And the reason I've put that there is if you just imagine that's a plug. It's a plug system. And I need to know that power is reaching that plug system, because from there I can power a house or a village or a town or a city. As long as I can get access to electricity. This is our grid. So this is the access to the grid. And the light currently is not on. And the reason the light is not on is because I've engineered, and I'm going to show you how, I've engineered the dam with the help of the kids so that it only works when we have enough water pressure. Remember, we're trying to get the kids to understand that water pressure equals turbine turning. And if turbines turn, we have electricity. That's how it works. Just like steam. Steam just turns, they say, what is the coal? We just burn coal. We burn coal to create heat. We add water. It gives us steam. Steam turns turbines. What about oil? We burn oil. Madness. We burn oil and then we add water, which then creates steam, which turns turbines. We're still working, no matter what the electricity system is, we're still working with steam. We're still working with the Industrial Revolution discoveries. And so what we need to do is just help the kids to understand how to turn those turbines. So if we head in here, we're going to pull this lever. Now this lever will just engage this redstone. And the redstone, I keep doing that. If I head down here, let me just block that for a second. You'll see that we are going to head down into, I'm just going to follow the redstone all the way down, and you'll see that it actually heads to, this is quite complex, but really it's just a system of, we showed the other day how a redstone torch is either positive or negative. So in this case, it's receiving a negative charge, and so it's positive, which is then engaging. It sends its own positive charge out to make sure that these sticky pistons are holding these two gates together. If I get rid of that, you'll see that they open and water floods out. And if I show you what that looks like from the outside, we have a gate. I'll show you what it looks like from the inside. If I just re-engage the positive power, they've closed and the gate is closed and the water streams out. So we've created, and believe me, we worked with kids to do this. The kids they had it all planned out and they knew roughly how it was going to work, and mistakes were made and one gate worked and one gate didn't, and so on. And so each of these 4 gates is receiving a negative charge and therefore has a positive piece there. I'm just going to cover these over again. There we go. And there's the third and the 4th gate. And then this continues all the way into here, which basically goes upstairs. I think I am going to have to break my way out of this, but that's okay. This goes upstairs and it goes into this power system. Now, it doesn't do anything. It goes into the power generator, and it's just designed to look as if it goes in, is generating power, and therefore continues. And what that then does is that then continues all the way down this structure. Every so often you'll see I've got a redstone repeater just continuing that, and then it just goes all the way down until eventually I'll get a light, because that's not helpful. what am I doing? I'll need a lantern. There we go. And that's going to go, there we are. And then that just leads to the very, there's our first redstone torch, which then goes up. And I'll show you later what that looks like. But basically, that electricity dam is linked all the way down to, I'll just come out the side actually, and you'll see where I am. There we are. So we're now at our battery again. So everything's linked. The power to the dam, to the water gates, to the power generator, which is pretend, to the battery at the bottom, basically the national grid at the bottom. And so if I now pull the lever to teach my children, I say, so let's imagine we've had a really, really long period of rain and the water pressure has risen, and so we end up with high water pressure. What does that look like? That means we are turning the turbine, because we basically switched the turbine on. You'll see when we head in here, actually let me just head back into it, let me show you how it works from here. So now that we've turned that on, you'll see that the electricity is bright red. It follows all the way down to here. These are now charged positively, so they become negative, which switches these gates off. And you can see that the water is now released. That's how that works. And then this then is charged all the way along, all the way up into the power station. The electricity, you can see there, it's bright red, goes inside the battery or the power generator, comes out, goes all the way down. And if I just head out the door and take you around to the battery, or the grid, I keep calling it a battery, it's how we've termed it with the kids, just so that they knew that the battery was charged. You see that the light's on. And the light is on because we have, where is it? Destroyed a bit. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. You'll see there that what we've actually done is the redstone comes in and charges positive to negative to positive to negative. Whoops, that was it. To positive, and then the positive runs to the light. That's it. That's how that works. I'll fix all of this later. Forgive me for knocking all of that stuff off. And then we can head up to the top. Now I know anyone who's a beginner at Minecraft is probably looking at this thinking, blown my mind. I don't even, how would I even begin with that? Kids did this. But I know you're thinking, how would I begin with this? You don't need to. First of all, Miss Taylor, I can make this world available to you for teaching in. Secondly, your kids will get it. Your kids are going to go, oh, I see how this works. Or you're going to ask them, make a dam and then make the electricity work. And I'll show you an easier way at the top to have a look at how that works. If we just take a lever, then we take some redstone. Every so often, if it gets too long, because remember, redstone doesn't run for too long, all I've done is I've put in a redstone repeater. I'll get myself a redstone torch, and I'll get myself a piston as well. So we've got some redstone. Every so often we throw in a redstone torch just to make sure that it continues. If it's too long, we'll throw another one in there just to show, imagine this was way, way, way longer. And then that is going to come across a block. On the other side of that block will be a redstone torch, which is the one that I showed you. And then that, I mean, it can sit on top, it doesn't really matter. If I now, and then we'll put, and then at the end of that is a lamp. This is just a much, much smaller version of it. But if we now switch this on, you'll see that the lamp is not, oh, that didn't, that's it. Actually, it has to be, that was my fault. I need to do that. There we go. So the lamp is on until I do this, and then the lamp is off. So you see the power is on, but the lamp is off, and so on. And actually, sorry, I said lamp. That's not true. That's not true. I have to do this first. There we go. Which then gives me, hypothetically, I'm just going to get some redstone. we're going to pretend that the redstone is the water. So we're going to say that this redstone is the water. So when the pistons are active, the water flows and the lamp gets switched on. And then we can do that. And it doesn't work anymore. There we go. And then we'll do the same. So it's the same concept, just basically showing you lever, redstone, repeaters just so it continues, takes us to negative, which allows us to make the dam work. And if the dam is working, then we have, in this case, electricity. So that's the principle. I'll just hold that there for a second so you can see the principle of how it works. We've just replaced redstone with water, which then allows us to create this. And so, where are we? I'm just going to fill that in there. There we go. Aesthetics, right? And so, the other way we can do this, and this is a fantastic way of doing it, and I really love this, is we can switch this off and actually get rid of the electricity to here. You'll see it's now joining there. I'm just getting rid of that long line of electricity. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a redstone repeater and put it there. I think that's the one I'm looking for. 1, 2, 3, then a repeater. Now, over here you'll see a cauldron and a thing called a redstone comparator. Let me show you what that does. A comparator basically checks what it's attached to and it looks for a change in that block's behavior. It's the easiest way I can explain it. They're actually quite complex, but it's the easiest way I can explain it. And so, if I put down a cauldron and then I put down some redstone, and then I put a light at the end, and then I put down another cauldron, and this time a comparator, and a light at the end. If I fill this cauldron with water, this first one, I'm just going to fill it up straight away with water. Nothing happens. But if I fill this one up with water, it recognizes that the cauldron's full and it gives us a redstone power. You can also do that with compost heaps as well if you want to use compost as power for biopower, which is one of the things I'm going to be doing in another stream. If I empty the bucket, the cauldron, so I'm just going to take a bucket. If I empty this one, there's no change regardless. If I empty that one, we lose power. So suddenly we've got a way of measuring water. If we think about this, we're like, oh, hang on a minute. We've got a way of measuring whether water is at a certain height. And so, what if we were to do the following? Weather, rain. I've done that. Look at that. I'm constantly doing that. /. Never forget your /. Rain. Now, it's going to rain. And if we watch these, over time, cauldrons fill up with water, but not straight away. And this is the beauty of this. This is genuinely a really fantastic way of doing this. It's going to prove me wrong now. It's going to take hours and hours to fill with rain. We just have to wait. There we are. So you see this one has some water in it. It's kind of hard to discern there, but this one has, oh, and this one does as well. And you'll see now that we have 1 bar of electricity. This has been engaged and we have 1. Oh, now we have 2. We got 2 now because this is slightly fuller. And then we have, eventually, if we just let it rain long enough, and this is the point, finally. So you see there that it's almost at the top. We could have actually got away with 4. Let me just try that. Let me just put, oh no, it is full. So it is just 3. We only get away with 3. So rain detector, right? Barry, I knew you'd like this one. I knew you'd like it. So what we've got is, we've got a rain detector. So now let me just, weather, clear. We'll switch the weather off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get our empty bucket and we're going to right click there and we're going to empty that. And you'll see that the redstone has nowhere to go. The redstone has nothing to do. The comparator is not active. And so what we are finding is we haven't had any rain for a while, and so we haven't really got any hydropower that we can use. Okay, but what we really need is a good rainy season. So what I've done is, inside our little tower here, we've put a cauldron, and then I've just put a hole above it, just a single hole. You'll notice from above that that just looks like that. As far as the kids are concerned, it's still just what we're looking at, having built originally, but there's a hole, and in that hole is a cauldron. And now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do, keep doing that, / weather rain. And it's going to rain. And it's going to rain down that hole. You can see the rain going down there. Doesn't rain anywhere else when we're indoors. There we are. It's dry in here, but it's raining in there. And then what's going to happen is, we've got a little bit of power, and we'll head outside so we can see this in action. No, not enough rain yet. Not enough rain. We really need it to rain for a month to fill up our reservoirs. And this is true to life. This is exactly what happens. We want seasonal rainfall so that we can fill up our hydro dams. And it's a long rate. Let's just wait with me. I'm determined not to go and check, because this will be one of those things where I go and check and it happens while I'm away. And then I just have to relive the stream. There we are. We've had enough rain. We've got overspill. Therefore, we must have enough hydropower, or at least enough water pressure to run hydropower. And then let's go check what's happening. The light's on. So, kind of a roundabout way of getting there, but it teaches all of the concepts that we want to teach when it comes to hydroelectric power. And here's the thing. If you want to teach kids why it's a renewable energy, we just did it. It's raining. We can't control the rain. It's nature. It's part of that great cycle of life where water is pulled up and evaporated, put up into the clouds, taken away, and then dropped again. Usually using mountainous regions and so on. And so we're able to show just through the rain systems in Minecraft that we have this energy that works. Good. Oh, the Hoover Dam gets its water from California. Very political, right? So Miss Renchi has said the Hoover Dam gets its water from California, and there's lots of politics involved in that, right? I also know that there's lots of politics around water dams in Iraq and in Israel, and in water access to places like Saudi Arabia. There's some political water causes huge political issues around the world with the fact that the Nile actually starts in Ethiopia, and if Ethiopia were to dam it, then Egypt would greatly suffer, and so on and so on. And so those political things are fantastic to explore and look at, if you want to attach something to this. And so, yeah, rain equals water pressure, which equals electricity. Let's just try that one more time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the rain. And then we're going to jump in and look at some code, and then we're going to be done with this one. So weather clear. And actually, Ms. Renchi, we just did daylight savings time. So this is an hour early for you again. Like, are you up at 3 in the morning or something? So let's get a bucket, because I got rid of my What am I doing? I'm in the wrong space. That's what happens. That's what I get for being cheeky. Okay. There we are. Not that I'm not glad you're here. I'm super glad you're here. I'm just amazed that you get up so early to do this. So there we go. Suddenly the raining season has gone. We're maybe into a hot season and we may or may not have enough water pressure. So let's do the same from weather rain. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the national grid. So we're going to just sit here until we have enough power to feed our homes. And what's great about this, if Miss Taylor, if you're still watching, what is great about this is that it is intermittent. It is dependent on water pressure. So then we have this whole conversation with kids about, yes, it's sustainable, but is it sustainable in everyday life? Because not every country has it, or not every country has the weather it needs. There are droughts, and we know this in England, for example. You know, there's hose pipe bans, for example. And so, what do we move to then? Do we do wind power, or do we do biopower, or do we do solar power? But not every country's sunny, and so on and so on and so on. And so we can start to say, well, actually, this is great, but it's not perfect. We need mixed solutions, and then we start looking at renewable energies as a whole, and it's kind of a gateway to that. So I think this lesson, I'm particularly proud of this lesson, if I say so myself. We worked on this over a number of years with a variety of different clients around the world until eventually we ended up with this toy box, which works perfectly, and so on. So any minute now we will have enough water pressure to power the grid. It just takes its time. And then we'll jump into some code, because I know Barry likes code. Barry likes to look at some of the coding solutions. And Miss Taylor, who requested this, we're able to use code to create conditions through which we can make sure that all of these systems work in harmony. Maybe I should make it slightly shorter next time, a shorter fuse. Maybe I should just make it 2 instead of 3. I think it happens quite quickly with 2 though, so you have to be careful. And actually, I know why this isn't working. So this is a perfect opportunity to show you why this isn't working. Some of you might remember, lesson coming up, that I love when we learn like this together. Some of you might remember that I talked about ticks, how Minecraft works in ticks. So every so often Minecraft has a timer, tick, 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 tick. And if I say, make this happen in 100 ticks, tick, 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 that only happens, Minecraft, to save on memory, only ticks within a radius of you. So what's happening now is that I am standing here watching this bulb, this lamp, but because the cauldron is too many blocks away, it's not filling up, it's not ticking. And so I now have to go up to here, and I have to be near it in order for it to tick. In fact, if we head in here, we should find that there's just there's no water in there. And that's because I haven't been close enough to it. So keep that in mind. There is a way around it, which I believe is, let me just see if I can work this out. Set, or is it tick? There we go, ticking area, and then I have to set the positions. So actually we can try that, because I've never made a ticking area before. So let's stop the rain. I've never made one, so let's see if it works. Let's empty the cauldron, and then let's just make the ticking area 1 block. So that would be, I'm just going to write this on my whiteboard, minus 57, 70, minus 142. And it's not 70, it's 69, because remember, I'm standing on the cauldron, which means technically it's down below. So let's do this. Ticking, I need to do that, / ticking area, add, Is that right? What does it say there? Ticking area, add, remove, or so add. Unknown command, right? Let's just see why that didn't work. Let me see. Ticking area. Add, and then let's see if we can add these. Minus 57, 69, minus 142 to minus 57, 69, minus 142. No, I'm not. Unknown. Do I have cheats on? Do I? Settings. I must do because I'm able to switch the way. Yeah, so let's see. Maybe it's not add. Maybe it's just / Maybe it doesn't work. Ticking area, add. Yeah, look, so it does its add. And then I'm going to do that again, minus 57, because it's letting me add it this time. It's got it here. Ticking area add from XYZ to XYZ, and then name string. So I might have to name it 69 minus 142. Oh, did I? Right, okay. Yep, maybe I did. Okay. 69, 142 to minus 57, 69 minus 142. So Baramox saying I made a typo with the last one. And then I name it, give it a string. I'm going to call that cauldron. One ticking area is in use. Right, that seemed to work. We all learn together. And then let's go and weather, rain. Oh, I keep doing that. I keep forgetting my, there we go. Right. Let's hope our ticking area works. We know from last time this didn't work because it was too far away, and it rained and rained and rained, and the cauldron was still empty when we got there. So now we just need to give it a little bit of time. There's no point in, this is one of those experiments you have to try from further away and you have to wait, because otherwise you'd be too close and it would be ticking anyway. So let's just see. If this works, I've learned something. And if it doesn't, I've just got something wrong with the coordinates. I bet you that's what it is. Remember the dam took ages last time. I suppose the way we could see is, there we go. Yay! So we added a ticking area. So there's a new thing. So now we have power to the national grid thanks to our ticking area, and we can imagine this was a big row of houses along here. They would all be getting power right now thanks to hydroelectric. Ta-da! Brilliant, right? So we added a ticking area. I'm really pleased with that. I'm really pleased that that worked because I've never done that before. And I think I'm just going to leave that in there in this completed world. Here we go. We can just keep closing it and opening it depending on what we do with that. I'll remove these as an experiment. So let's see what we can do in the way of coding just to make this work a little bit better for us. Let's go. I'm just going to get rid of these. Okay, that's working away. So now let's look at coding. I'm just going to clear my inventory. Whoops. Sometimes this is a bug that happens. You'll notice that I'm actually making a lot of mistakes with the /. I don't know why, but sometimes Minecraft Education Edition doesn't, if I do /, it didn't happen. Whereas in all my other streams, when I press /, I get it. So I then have to press // and it's a bug. I don't know why it happened. It might be a bug with my PC, but it's a bug, and it's annoying. Oh, actually, before we do coding, what then happened was with the fish ladder, the fish ladder doesn't of course have a function, but what it allows the fish to do is go inside. In fact, we can see fish in there. That's brilliant. I'm so happy with that. They're like salmon are literally in my fish ladder, and I promise you I did not put them there. They're just in there. And then you'll notice that this one then leads into here, so there's salmon in here, and then there's salmon in here. This is actually working. I'm genuinely excited by this because it's working, and then so on, and eventually what you should end up with is you should end up with the fish all the way up inside the dam, which then takes them into the visitor center. So I'll just go through here, and then they would go up into the here, which is the looking out onto the visitors, and then that should lead them to oh no, there it is. Ah, it was blocked. Look at that. That's the one there. So that's it there. I'm just gonna have to fill that out. Good job I checked that actually. So I'm just gonna rebuild that wall and then get rid of this. That must have been an error when the kids were building it, popping it in. They haven't finished that. That's a shame, but that's okay, because what we'll do is we'll just finish it now. Let me just... I'm a bit of a stickler for this sort of stuff. Things need to be finished in Minecraft worlds. I don't like things not being nicely finished. There we are. Call it OCD. MCCD. I don't even know if that's a thing. But I am a bit like that, I'll be honest. Okay. And then that would eventually lead them out, where they would come out into the reservoir and further rivers, where we have dolphins, bizarrely. You'll get stuck. But we do have salmon, which I love. I love that that's working. And so we, so the kids completed the whole system. They did the whole thing, the ecology side of it and everything. But what about the fish? How do they get from here to here to go back to their breeding grounds or whatever? Perfect. So let me just hook up coding. Let's go to new project and let's call this Hydro. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a, let's go to loops. Let's create a forever loop that goes to gameplay and says weather clear. Then we're going to add a, let's make it a 20 second time gap. Then we're going to do rain, weather rain. We're going to make that a, and I think we need, 30 seconds will do it. And then we just go back to weather clear. So that's just going to go clear, be sunny for a while, rain for a bit longer, and then press play. So this is just a nice way. Hey, glad you're still here, Miss Taylor, and I hope this is helping. So this is on a forever loop. So what we end up with is we should, there's the weather clear. We don't have to do anything now. The weather's clear. It's going to stay clear for a while, so the kids can test this and they can go, oh, the weather's. I tell you what, that's the problem with. That's the only thing, is you have to manually empty the cauldron. Manually empty the cauldron, and then it's going to rain, and then with the right amount of rain, in this case 30 seconds worth of rain, we should end up with enough power to run electricity. So we can just have the rain automated and have it and actually what we could do is we could go into math and we could pick a random between 1,000 and 100,000, and also whether rain, Actually, let's just make that 1,000 and 10,000. So anywhere between 1 and 10 seconds, and then pick a random between anywhere between 20 seconds and 50 seconds. And so what that means is that we never know at any time how long the rain's going to last or the weather clear. We could even make them even. And so that would give us seasons. That would give us, oops, I'll get rid of that and put that in. That would give us seasons. That would give us this idea that we, oh, why did that happen? I don't know. 20,000 to 50,000. That would give us a nice way of being able to say, well, actually, we don't know if it's going to be a really warm year or if it's going to be a really rainy year, which of course is true. And then press play, and then let's just see. So on a forever loop. So at this point, it's going to go clear, but we don't know how long for. Let me just time it. He says, I can't find my stopwatch. I'll get ready to start when it rains. So at some point, and we've no idea when, it's going to rain. Kind of like real life. I wonder if you could weather forecast this. I wonder if there would be a way of having the kids forecast what they believe the weather patterns to be and use it. There we go. So it started raining. So I'm just going to start now. How long is it going to rain for? Hey, Michael0518 on Mixer. Thank you so much for the follow. Today, if you haven't been watching for long, we are doing hydropower and we're looking at coding and mechanizing hydro systems. We're now just trying to work out if we can randomize weather, because this is what I do in my streams, is just trying to figure stuff out. Can we randomize weather, and if so, for how long? Now I've given it a maximum of 50 seconds, so it can't rain for longer than 50 seconds. But we're at 35 so far. There we go. So it stopped at 43 seconds. So that was random 43. And then I'm going to just see roughly how long So I'm just going to write this down actually. Rain was 43. Sun, let's just see. I don't suppose you could forecast it. That's the point of it being random, right? But you might get patterns, which would be a nice little maths exercise. And actually, if it's anything like the weather forecasts we get, it can't be much more wrong. Oh, there we go. Stop. 35 seconds. So let's do another one. And this is actually, I saw a storm there. I think this is actually stormy. No, it can't be because I only told it to do rain, not thunder. What did you do during the coronavirus lock-in? Randomized weather and then timed how long it took to rain. Boredom strikes, eh? I actually think this is really, I love this. I love the idea that we could time and randomize, time, and possibly deduce patterns from weather systems in Minecraft. Welcome to my mind. There we go. 46 seconds instead of 43 this time. And then the other one. And you can just lap it. Just keep lapping on your timer. Let's do it again. I'm waiting for a short one. There has to be a short one. Surely it's not going to be like that's 43, 35, 46. Give us a totally random. Because I said anywhere from 10, didn't I? So the minimum is 10 seconds. So I'm looking at something like, I'd like to see it between 10 and 20. I'm not going to put you all through this. There we go. That was better. That was 27 seconds for the sun. So there we go. So we had rain 43, 46, sun 35, 27. That actually feels like Scotland, with the sun being consistently less than the rain. However, I'm going to stop there, but hopefully this has been really helpful for anybody who is, particularly Miss Taylor, who asked for this. But for anyone who is thinking about doing renewable energies, and particularly hydropower, have a go, build your own, even just make a small mound with some water in it and have a small waterfall to start off with, just 3 or 4 or 5 blocks high, and then build a small dam, make it bigger, play with some redstone. Don't worry about attaching it to the grid or any of that sort of stuff. Just have it working and having pistons, sticky pistons working. Here's what you're going to need. Let me just give you one more showcase on the bridge of what it is that you're going to need. In order for you to mechanize this, if you truly want to mechanize it, you're going to need redstone, you're going to need redstone torches, and you're going to need redstone repeaters, and you're going to need a lever. And then what you're going to need is you're also going to need, and I'm going to make a very, very small dam for you to show you what that looks like. And we've got concrete. So we're going to have a piston, and we're going to have something to hold that up with, and then we're going to have the dam. And then I'm just going to build the dam for you, and I'm going to have redstone coming from the piston, let me just here we go. I'm just building a very, very small model of the dam to begin with. And then we're going to have that there. And right, there's our dam. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a lever at the end. I'm just going to put one of those in because it's just to show you that we need those if redstone runs out of power. So that's going to close our dam for us, as you can see. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that up with water. And then down here, we're going to have our own water system. There we are. So there's water level. That's kind of where you want your water to be. And this is dam level. And then all we're going to do is we're going to pull that little lever, and that's going to create our high water pressure model. That's it. So redstone that leads to a piston. When the piston is switched off, we close the dam and we don't have the water system anymore. That's it. We could even do it like that so it looks a bit more obvious. There we are. Take that top layer off. So redstone torch. Ignore the torch for the moment. The basic one didn't need it, but if you want to build the one I built, it does. Redstone repeaters, levers, pistons, and some sort of material to build the mountain around it. If you do want this world, PM me and I can get this to you. It's actually a sellable resource, but you requested it and I would like you to have it so that you can maybe build a case study around your kids or whatever. So Miss Taylor, do PM me and I can get this world to you. Let me end there. I've really enjoyed this actually. It's nice to be able to showcase some of these things that we've done over the last 10 years. And if there is anything you guys do want to see, send me a request just like Miss Taylor did, and I will happily show you that. This afternoon we are doing more renewables. So we're going to do hydro this afternoon, which requires code and redstone. And we're going to do, tomorrow we're going to do bio, and the tomorrow afternoon we're going to do solar. And then the day after that we're going to do fossil fuels. So let's focus over the next few days on looking at energy systems in Minecraft and all the things that come with that. See you guys in 5 hours time. Thanks very much. Bye everyone.